Welcome to Module 5 entitled Review. This module looks at both internal review and external review of your CMS with the main purpose of achieving consistency and good practice. For internal review, we will look at assessor meetings and achieving consistency through standardisation. For external review, we will also have a look at the internal verifier's role within external audits. So let's have a look at internal review first. I will start off by looking at what assessor meetings are about and how to organise these. Assessor meetings are part of the review process and will often focus on assessment practice as well as general communication on CMS issues. There is an example of an agenda for assessor meetings within the supporting notes for this module, and the main topics on this meeting are CMS information, which is about general communication, administration update, which is about updates on general processes and documentation, assessment review, this is the main feedback conversation and an opportunity to improve consistency, forward planning, which focuses on the main forthcoming activities and goals around the CMS. Organisations with new or less well-established CMS programmes will have less opportunity to feedback, but the internal verifier should be using these meetings to reinforce good practice and may have to rely on guidelines and expectations and worked examples to get the message across. For organisations running an established CMS, assessor meetings should be organised so there is opportunity to feedback from internal verification activities and use examples of assessments sampled. This should cover a range of issues, and examples of good practice can be invaluable to the assessors. Examples of poor practice should also be reviewed with assessors. We would encourage names to be removed and the expectations around what is unacceptable to be communicated as clearly as possible. Achieving consistency. So how do we achieve consistency? A term that will be new to those of us learning about internal verification for the first time will be the idea of standardisation. Standardisation can involve quite a range of review activities with the assessors. This may involve looking at examples of assessment practice, again including good examples and examples that don't meet the requirements of the organisation's CMS. The purpose here is taking time to let people understand what is required in a constructive manner. In the supporting notes for this module, you'll see some examples of standardisation activities. These build on some of the themes that we have already introduced during the previous modules. We have introduced the idea of risk within the assessment process around CAMRA, that is candidates, assessors, methods of assessment, elements or competencies, recording systems and assessment locations. The examples of standardisation activities try to manage these risks by providing feedback on these type of issues. You'll see that example A in the supporting notes is about elements or competencies that may be difficult for assessors to achieve or complete satisfactorily, and that's a good standardisation opportunity. Examples B and C are both about achieving consistency with different methods of assessment, perhaps bringing in something that's less commonly used within your CMS, so for example simulation. Let's finish by looking at the internal verifier's possible role in external audits. Audits help organisation get an external view of the state of play of the CMS. External audits can be undertaken by a range of third parties, including clients, approval or auditing bodies, for example APITO or DNV, or regulatory authorities. Examples from a UK point of view being the HSE and DEC, who've been quite active in this area in the last few years. External audits usually focus on the procedures that your CMS is built on and on the quality of assessment and verification being undertaken. Some auditors will want to talk directly to internal verifiers, assessors and candidates so they can look at both assessment decisions and assessment practice. External auditors will often prepare an audit plan of the visit, and the internal verifier's role is often to help in the run-up to the audit and in participation during the audit. Follow-up on corrective actions or observations is another important part of the internal verifier's responsibilities. Even if you're not directly involved in the external audit, you'll be responsible for addressing the outcomes from such audits. A final feature is understanding good practice and reinforcing this at both IV and assessor level. The last bit needs tweaked.